do horses change lives? At TEAL CIC, this magic happens every day. Founders Lucy and Lisa have created a safe, compassionate space for children, young people and adults with additional needs, so they can learn, grow and heal with horses. The herd at TEAL help those with mental, emotional and physical struggles through equine-assisted learning, therapeutic sessions and alternative education, alongside the founders Lucy and Lisa, who are also now training providers across the country. Their horses have helped those with selective mutism, children in care, those with Parkinson's disease, autism, and those who have had traumatic backgrounds. So what is it about horses that make them such inspiring healers and teachers? Let's find out, shall we? Lucy, Lisa, welcome to Curious Equestrian.
Morning, Anna.
Morning, thank you for having us on.
Now take us back. What inspired the idea of TEAL Equine?
Well, many years ago, my daughter, who is now nearly 24, was born with an extremely rare chromosome disorder and told she would never walk and she would never talk. So when she started school and didn't have a very good time, and we took her out, and Lucy's always had horses. I used to ride when I was younger. So she come to the yard every day. She had her own pony at that point. And within that year, she learned to say 100 words. And Great Ormond Street were astounded. Like, how did she learn to talk? But it was being with the horses. And also she couldn't walk or sit on a chair, but she could ride a pony. So it had great effects for her physical disabilities as well. So we looked into this, or Lucy looked into this, and it's a very big thing in America, like equine-assisted learning, equine therapy. So Lucy retrained as a counsellor and I retrained as a cognitive behaviour therapist until was born. So we thought if we could help one other child the way Tiffany had been helped, then it would be worth it. And here we are, nearly 11 years later.
Yeah,
help lots of people.
11 years officially, 14 years before that, because we done like 2 years worth of case studies as well after I done my training, just to gain our confidence and to work out in the sessions what worked for the young people and the different needs, and adults as well, and about supporting the horses during their work as well. And we wanted to get everything done as well as we possibly can before we officially opened our doors, 11 years ago now.
But if it hadn't been for Tiffany and a very special horse called Artie, then we wouldn't be here.
And right. Why do you think the horses succeeded where the NHS didn't with Tiffany's speech?
I think she wanted to communicate with them, and
there's no pressure from the horses as well. She was in private speech and language therapy, having speech and language at school, and sort of sat in a room being told to say the letter b repeatedly, and she didn't want to engage in that environment. But I think having the open opportunity with no pressures, and she wanted to engage with the horses, and I think she was comfortable, wasn't she? It was her happy place to be with the horses, and I think that's just why she flourished.
I must say, I was shocked on the yard that day, and I could hear stuck, and I was like, where is that coming from? And Tiffany had fallen over because she used to walk about 2 steps, then she'd fall over and she couldn't get up. So stuck was actually her first word, probably shortly followed by walk and trot and mum about 5 years later.
Horses come first. What did
Definitely.
it feel like to suddenly hear Tiffany speak for the first time at the yard?
Amazing, because I used to cry myself to sleep thinking that I would never hear her talk, and there wasn't like the support network then like there is now with social media and whatever else. I felt very kind of lonely. And so, it was absolutely amazing. And like, all our physiotherapists and that were amazed, because I'd come to the yard and be like, how does she sit on a horse? And yet at school she had to have like trip-trap chairs so she didn't fall off them. But the horses give her her life back, what can I say? And she works with us now, which is lovely because she helps and inspires all of our students, speaks to their parents when the parents, are upset and worried about what their children's futures may be. And she's an amazing young person. Yeah.
And what were the medical staff's reactions? What were the medical staff's reactions like when they saw Tiffany's transformation?
Yeah, but they were shocked. Great Ormond Street were like, how have you got her to speak? Like, how?
They said, what have you done?
Yeah, what have you done? I mean, I spent thousands in private speech therapy as well as the NHS and the school speech therapy, and we got B in 8 years, and that was all we got. And then when she started talking, she was a bit worried, but she'd talk with the horses. So when the BBC come out to interview, I think when we first opened like 10 years ago, and they were like, can we speak to her on her own? And I was like, oh, I don't know if she'll do that. But she did.
Because she was with the horses.
She was with the horses. Unfortunately, you can't take a pony everywhere, but now she teaches our students, so she's come on so far. And she's not the only one. Like, we've had so many children that have arrived without speech and left with speech over the years.
It's generally the horses' names, but it's a massive step when a young person hasn't had any speech and then they've developed speech with the work they've done with their equine-assisted learning with the horses. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, amazing.
How did you begin to set up TEAL Equine after the inspiration of your experience with Tiffany?
So I spent a long time trying to find somewhere where I could do my equine-assisted learning training without having to go over to America. And I found a company, and they're called Horses Helping People, and they were offering like professionals training. They'd been going themselves already for 8 years, and they were working with a variety of young people with additional needs alongside people with addiction, and offering well-being. So I travelled there and I'd done a 5-day course there. And then after that, I went and done my counselling skills course as well. But prior to that, my background is I'd worked in the equine industry for a lot of years. And then when Lisa had Tiffany, I then worked into working with young people with additional needs in schools and privately. So it's sort of everything come together at the right time. So yeah, we done our training. And then, as I said, we done our case studies. And then we officially opened the doors, which was a bit scary at first, but yeah, it was amazing.
No,
yeah.
You'd have to rope our dad into actually building us somewhere on the farm, because we at the time we were just, our horses were living there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I love it. The old set up, girls.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a family thing even now, so it's really nice.
We done a lot of work with our horses as well, just to make sure that obviously we could meet our horses' needs, because it was quite different for our horses. That some of my horses I'd owned since they were babies, and at that point were sort of 11 years old, so they were not used to interacting with like lots of different people as well. So the case studies were not only just for me and Lisa about running the sessions and how the equine assisted learning works, but it was also to get our feedback from our horses as well, and see what groups that they were happy working with and what activities they would enjoy doing, because we need like happy horses and we need to meet all their wellbeing needs so they can be their best selves in their sessions as well. So those 2 years gave us a really good idea for our point of view, our client's point of view, and the horse's point of view, that what worked well.
And even things like our horses are trained to lead from both sides. They're trained to lead with wheelchairs. So that's like quite a lot of training goes into that. And even silly things like they probably think we're crazy because me and Lucy do run around and scream and flap, and you never know what you might encounter. So the horses have a lot of probably unusual training to your usual horses.
Yeah, tell us about that training. How do you prepare a horse for every eventuality, for every person who has additional needs and who needs help?
So we always have to understand that the horses are still horses. We can do as much training as we possibly can, but we always let our clients know that our horses have their own mind, they have their own free will as well. But we let all our clients know that everyone has a choice here. Our horses have a choice, our clients have a choice. But all our horses are trained using positive reinforcement methods. So we're totally force-free here. Our horses are trained using like touch sticks, and they get treats and rewards for everything. So a lot of our behaviour, first of all, we done shaping behaviour. So things like training the horses to stand still. So say if they have a wheelchair next to them, it's really important our horses are standing still and obviously not bumping into the people in wheelchairs. So every time we'd start our training, every time the horses were standing still, we'd reward them. So they have a cue word, which is yes. And then they'd get a treat, like a high value treat. So then you bring in duration after that. So the longer they stand still, then they get a treat and their cue word, yes. So it's very baby steps to where they are now. And obviously now as a reward, they might get an itch or a scratch or something they really enjoy. But when you're first training, yeah, we need a really nice high reward for our horses. And when they were learning about the objects, so like people in wheelchairs, obviously we didn't park a wheelchair next to them straight away. We'd walk the wheelchairs past them so they could get used to the noise and the sound, and then bring it closer and closer. So again, it's just breaking down all the training for them. And some of our young people stim, so that means they might flap or they might squeal or they might spin around. So again, me and Lisa done lots of flapping and squealing and spinning around and excitement around the horses, again at a distance before we bring it in close. So the horses could learn that it's nothing scary, nothing bad's going to happen to them. In fact, when that happens, they actually get a treat. If they're coping well, then they get rewarded for it. So it's just bringing everything to a positive, so the horses realise that there's nothing to worry about, only good things are going to happen.
And we try and do a lot of our work with the horses at Liberty, so they have a total choice to join in or not. One of the problems we actually have is that they all want to join in.
Yeah. They like coming in.
They like coming. They like being part of the session. Yeah, so if we have one
open so that the horses can go in and out of the barn and actually choose to be part of the sessions.
So we have a smaller barn that if we have like one client, we could have one horse in, but it attaches to our big barn, and their outside areas, they have free access. So you'll quite often we'll have one in and the other three standing by the gate.
Waiting to join
in. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I love that your horses are also trained to respond to the human breath as well. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so we'll especially as again we're talking back to some of our clients that are non-verbal, and that could be because of like speech delays, or they could be an elective mute and not want to talk. And we also work with people with Huntington's disease, so they've lost their ability of speech. So everyone can practice this with their own horses. So with our breath rates, so when we're leading the horses, for example, if we take a big inhalation in, then your horse will, again, inhale with you, and that prepares your energy levels for them to walk on with you. And if we do a big breath out, like a big, then your horse, and you stand still, your horse will stand still with you. So I challenge everyone with their horses to get nice and in tune with your horses and practice your breath work with your horses. We must remember that horses work off energies within the herd and breath rates and heart rates. So we're just mimicking the horse's natural herd behaviour.
Right. I think some of our students think they're magic.
Sorry again, Lee. Sorry.
Some of our students think it's magic.
Yeah, they are magic though. What do you think is so magical about working with horses, particularly when we're dealing with people that need extra help and support in life?
I think they're completely non-judgmental, and they haven't got an opinion. They take you for who you are, at that moment in time. So, you haven't got to pretend to be something you're not, or, they just take you.
They're not worried about your job title or your designer clothes or your social status. They're taking you for your totally authentic self, because that's who they are. They're totally authentic. They are them, and that's what they bring to the table. And I think once we've spent some time with our horses, it gives us an opportunity to just be ourselves, to not be in school mode or work mode or pressure or think about what's going to happen next week or what's happened last week, about learning to be in the moment. And horses live in the moment all the time, and us as humans, it's very hard for us, isn't it, to live in the moment. So I think they bring a lot of grounding to people and just general like well-being, relaxation, like safety. I think I couldn't say enough positive things about spending time with horses.
And who do your horses and yourselves help? Who can you help who's suffering?
So we have quite a range. So we have no upper or lower age limit here. So our youngest clients we've worked with have been like 2, and our oldest clients have probably been about 85, 86. So we work with young people with additional needs. So a lot of our young people that come in have got like autism or Asperger's or ADHD. And then we also work with groups with, like, we've worked with NHS brain injury hospitals, Huntington's, dementia, Alzheimer's, physical disabilities. Oh, it's a wide list. When we first opened, we were our target client group, because of our own experience, was going to be young people with additional needs like autism and ADHD. But we've had a lot of people approach us with things like their brain injury, hospitals, Huntington's
domestic
disease,
violence survivors.
Yeah, domestic violence groups, and we're just very open and honest and said, like, this isn't our speciality. This is not what all of our training is, but you're welcome to come for a session. And if it works for you, then that's great. And I think about being open and honest and authentic with what we do when clients are approaching us is really important as well. So yeah, it's scoped out massively in comparison to what our initial idea was for TEAL. Yeah, so yeah, anyone is welcome. Anyone is welcome.
It's been amazing though. Like, we've had Parkinson's groups, and the tremors have stopped when they've been grooming or painting the horses. And some of our Huntington's group that are quite advanced in their Huntington's diagnosis, and they'll come and they'll stay awake for the whole hour they're here, and the care home are like amazed, because usually they won't stay awake or engaged for that long, but they're so happy to be here and see the horses. So it's such a lovely... Well, they're just amazing. Well, it's not us. It's them.
We're just facilitating.
Both. You are the heart of TEAL, and it's because of the horses that you've trained and that you work with so gently and that you bring into the world of TEAL that these amazing transformations are happening. Can you tell us how the horses help each individual group that you've just mentioned? So those with anxiety, those with ADHD, those with Parkinson's, and other sort of struggles in life.
So I think if we're talking about our young people with if we go into like our autism, first of all, they often struggle a lot with like social communication skills and working as a team, because they may often feel like they're create their own agenda of what's going to happen. So the horses, with a horse, you really need to work as a team, and we really promote that here. It's all teamwork, and quite traditionally in the equine industry, it's very much like the humans are the dominant and the horse must be the submissive, and they must do what we say. But here it's all about teamwork. So us as humans, we're going to work as a team with our horses, just as the horses would within their own herd network. They have like strong friendships and strong bonds. So we bring everything back to basics with the horses. So we do a lot of grooming with the horses, a lot of spending time with the horses, because that's how the horses in their world are affirming their friendships as well. They're affirming their friendships with grooming. So if we can explain that to our young people and explain, like, what would you do that's nice for your friends? How do you make friends? What's a nice fun thing to do together? So we might take the horses out foraging, and we'd go and find like sticky weed and thistles and things like that. So we're affirming those bonds and friendships on a stepping stone. And then we may go on to obstacle courses one day where the horse and the human really need to work well together to go through the obstacle course that they've built. And then we can label some of the obstacle courses if the young person wants to, with some of the things that they've found challenging. And then that just opens the doors to the communication, and again, like working together.
And especially sort of like non-verbal communication and body language and that, because people with autism struggle to deal with that. But obviously horses that is how they communicate, is non-verbally and through body language. So, we always say to them, you've got to learn to speak horse rather than them learning to speak our language. We learn to speak horse. And obviously, scientifically, horses have a lot bigger magnetic field than us with our hearts. So once you have got a bond with your horse, that's why we always start all of our sessions with grooming. Then if they come in and they're feeling anxious, what the horse will do is they'll raise their heartbeat to match the person that's feeling anxious, and then they'll lower it, which in turn lowers that person's heartbeat. And that's why people say they feel calm around horses, because horses can actually physically lower your heart rate and make you feel calmer.
I had no idea they could actually affect the rate of our hearts.
Yeah.
That's
the science
behind that word magical, aren't we? But it is magic.
Yeah, and it is magic. It is amazing. And, we all know you've got horses, Anna. You do feel automatically better. Do you know, if you're having a bad day or you've had a bad morning or whatever, and then you get to your horses and automatically they're just like, oh, and they know, don't they? Like, when we've had personally bad experiences in our lives, and me and Lucy have turned up in the yard that morning, and they're all just come and stand with us. And they, you don't have to tell them. They just know. They just know they'd like to be present with you.
And that's where I think it works for our groups with like Huntington's and Parkinson's. It just, the horses can just hold space for them, and it's like it's more of a well-being session. So it's somewhere you can come, you can relax, you can just feel safe, you can just be. A lot of those sessions that those clients just want to come and be with the horses. They often don't want to do, they just want to be with a horse. So we'll go out. Our horses have got a big loafing area, again, that's got access to the barns and the shelters. And we just go and chill with the horses. And often they'll come over, they'll have a snooze with the person. You often have a horse kisses going on, or they'll be grooming them. And they just need just that time to get out of life. And I think for all of us, for everybody, we're all so busy in life. We all have a lot of stress and a lot of pressures. And to be able to have like 45 minutes or an hour within a week where you can just be is so beneficial and so important. And I think for all of us.
With some of our, going back to sort of like the way Tiffany said she felt as well when she did start communicating, like some of our students that do struggle with speech and whatever else, they sort of sat with therapists in a room, and Tiff said she felt like she was sort of like pushed to doing things where when they're with the horses, like we've had a client before that didn't want to speak but actually had wrote on the side of Jigsaw how she was feeling. And like that is an amazing breakthrough that, she could communicate in a different way. We had another child that was a selective mute that, wouldn't even give a facial reaction when she started coming, and in the end would write down on a piece of paper like what she wanted to say to us and whatever else. But I think because it's calm and relaxed, it's not like, right, you're sat there for an hour and you must try and do this. It's a totally different environment to do those.
Because, we often say, don't we, oh, we wish our horses could talk to us and tell us, if there's been an injury, or, we'd love to sit down and be able to talk to our horse and say, where does it hurt? What's going on? But do you think the key to your work is actually that the horses don't speak, so that actually your clients and those you help are actually, they feel seen by the horses, that there's, like you mentioned, no judgment, but also that they're on a level playing field with the horse?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because that instant pressure it is gone. That pressure of a human, wanting something from you. The horse isn't asking anything of you. They're just going to be with you and hold that space with you. And when you're ready, they're there. And as Lisa said, as non-verbal communicators, it's not natural. But I think when we do get to know our horses really well, I think horses do talk to you if you can listen.
100%.
Yeah, and I think that's part of really getting to know your horses. That people often say, like our young people, I say, oh, like the Ben's about to move right, and they say, how do you know that? But I think, I've had him for 18 years now, and I just know him really well. And you start to notice those little subtle cues, don't you? Like a little twitch of an ear or a look around.
So
and you can start to read
we
that.
had our students out, and they were obviously loose grooming them, and Jigsaw kept moving, and one of my students said, why is she doing that? And I was like, because she wants you to groom her bum. So she keeps moving forward for you to groom her bum, and you keep moving forward to groom her shoulder, which is where you were. But I was like, she actually wants her bum groomed. So when the student started grooming her bum, Jigsaw didn't move a muscle. So I was like, she's actually telling you that's what she wants. But that's, part of understanding and learning to speak horse. Like Jigsaw coming lame actually a few years ago, and us or the vet couldn't find out what was wrong with her. And then later that afternoon, Ben had stuck his head sort of under her, and it turned out that she'd got mastitis. So, but Ben told us that. Us and the vet didn't realise. If it hadn't been for Ben, was like, look, it's under here.
Literally pointing to the problem. It is true, isn't it? Recently, we had, in all the horrible storms we've had recently, we had a huge, great big tree come down over our border fence, our boundary fence.
Oh.
And we had no idea. But Winnie, that's her favourite field. She's normally always out there when the gates are open. And we came to feed them for lunchtime. And she was at the main gate, and we thought something's off, something's wrong. Winnie isn't in her favourite field, wandering about and exploring. She's telling us something, and we literally looked across into her paddock, and there was a whacking great tree had broken, smashed through the boundary fence. So It's amazing, isn't it, how she's there kind of waiting for us at the gate to tell us, something's up and I'm not going in there. And it's up to us to sort of translate that and work out what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely do speak to you. Unfortunately, Ben likes a bum scratch and he's taught all the other horses to do it. So he's a very good communicator.
He's
when
very
he
good.
wants something, and he's very good at telling you what
Horses
he
and bum
wants.
scratches. It's like the key to their heart, isn't it?
It is. I suppose they can't reach us.
And I think that's where the individual horses bring something different to the table with each of our clients as well. Because everyone that's like got horses or been around horses will understand that they're all very individual, just like we are as humans, and that could be to their experiences that they've had in their lives, and the way that they're kept. There's lots of different factors, but all of our horses' personalities are quite different, aren't they?
Definitely.
And they all bring something different to the table with our clients as well. So it's quite interesting watching what horses are drawn to which clients, but also which clients are drawn to what horses. Sometimes they might look at a horse they aspire to be like Ben, who's very social, very good at communicating. And then sometimes they may choose a horse that's a bit more like them, like our Jigsaw, who's a bit more reserved. You sort of have to you have to put in the effort to be, to be friends with her. But when you're friends with her, she's really lovely, but she's not going to approach you. So yeah, they're all very different. It's interesting, isn't it, Lisa, to see?
And it's definitely interesting the difference. Like we've got 2 that we've had since they were foals, and 2 that are rescues. And the difference in what life experiences the horses have been through. So Jigsaw's a rescue, and you really do have to make an effort, which is also a mare, so that's probably something to do with it as well. But the 2 boys, like Ben and Smokey, that we've had since they were babies, they are so in your face because obviously nothing bad's ever happened to them. So anybody that goes out, they're like, hi, I'm Ben, I'm Smokey. And then little Sam is a bit more, judgmental about who he likes to see to start with. But they've had such different life experiences that it makes such a difference. But that is good for our clients as well, because they all get to see. And as well, like we work with quite a lot of people that have been in the care system or are in the care system. And it's great for them to see that you can actually go through traumatic experiences in your life, come out the other side and do really well and give something back. Because, I've got to hand it, like, Jigsaw and Sam, they've been through some traumatic things, and here they are giving back and enjoying every minute of it, and
and inspiring young people for their futures. Yeah.
And isn't it interesting then that, children in the care system can relate to the horses and use them as motivation and inspiration where they might not see it in their lives otherwise?
Yeah, currently. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's we always, when we have someone new, we always go through each horse's story. So obviously we've got 4 of them. So we'll say, we've had Ben since he was 8 months old, Smokey since he was 8 months old, Jigsaw, we've had her 14 years, but she was a rescue. And little Sammy was our worst starvation case when the local rescue centre gave him to us, bless him. But yeah, it's nice for them to know as well, and I think they have.
And they've helped do some of the training with the horses. So Sam was quite badly abused as well, and he's very fearful of like stable tools and brooms and poo pickers, and there was quite a list that he was really frightened of. So some of our young people wanted to help with like the positive training with Sam as well. So they were learning a new technique of how to work with animals, because it can be used across the board, dogs, horses, and seeing Sam's progress as well. So yeah, now we can poo pick around Sam. We can muck out around Sam. Yeah, he'll actually pick up the poo picker now. Brooms are still too far for him, but it's great that our clients have wanted to be part of the journey of building Sam's like confidence and self-esteem and seeing the transformation of him. And they now come in, they're like, oh, we just poo picked around Sam, or we done this, and he come over to see us, like he was really brave. So like they're recognizing that although things can be scary, with the right help and the right support, like we can build stepping stones and blocks to help us with things that we're struggling with. And I think that's really relatable for all of us in our lives as well. You need the right team around you. Yeah,
definitely. And how do you select your horses, whether it be from a foal or from a rescue? How do you choose the teal equine horses?
You think you just sort of know? That's a really vague answer, isn't it? When me and Lucy have been out to find new members of our herd,
We did go through quite a few that we didn't choose when we was looking for extras. Obviously, Ben and Jigsaw, we already owned Ben and Jigsaw, so we already had those. They're part of the OG team. And when we were looking for little Sam, unfortunately, we'd lost our pony Pudding. She was nearly 30 years old, and she was just she was amazing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, she passed away. And when we were looking for Sam, we'd gone and looked at a number of different horses, hadn't we? But some of them were just big reason were not very safe to be around. Like, we can't have any horses that are obviously going to bite or going to kick, or have got issues with like traffic or road like, because we take the horses out, or loud noises. So we need to try and test those things out when we were looking for horses. And we did actually, we thought we found a pony, and she was lovely, and we agreed to have her on trial. But she didn't like the environment of how our horses lived at all. She wasn't coping at the time. We had stables at the time and the horses were going out, but she didn't cope with being stabled at all. She was just trying to climb out of her stable. And so it wasn't the right environment for Mildred. And so Mildred went back only because it wasn't suiting her needs, and we need our horses to be happy. So she went to go and live out, which was much better for Mildred. And then a local rescue who we're friends with called us about Sam. They'd just had him in a couple of days, and they said, "Oh, we've got this little pony in, and we know you were looking." And said, "Oh, he's in a right state. He's been starved for a long time. Come and have a look at him and see what you think." So we met little Sam, and he was literally bones and hair that had turned into like cotton wool. He was a right state. And we took him out for a little walk on the yard, and then two young horses escaped and started cantering around the yard, and little Sam didn't bat an eyelid. He just stood there. He was like, "Oh, okay." And I thought, "Oh, you're the one. You're the one. Yeah, you're going to come home." So we've had Sam nearly 6 years now, and yeah, he's lovely. He's slotted in really well to all the work and all the clients. It was literally Sam's big problem was just the fear around like stable tools and mucking out. So that's what we've worked on for a long time now, and he's come on leaps and bounds. Everyone says Sam is magical, and I think he's a wise soul, little Sam.
There is definitely something special about him, and he's got 2 blue eyes and a medicine cap. He's very, very, he's a special little pony. Yeah. He's a special little pony. And then, unfortunately, we lost Breeze. She was another rescue cob we had. And because of the things she went through before we rescued her, we ended up losing her at just 6 years old. So when we got Smokey, we didn't want another rescue just because of the heartbreak that it had put us through. We wanted something that we knew had a good start to life. So Smokey is off the Hermit stud, and he's amazing. So it's great when you get him from babies, because we have full-time educational students here as well. So they have all helped with all of his training, and he's been with us since he was little. And
he's 5 now, just turned 5, and he was dual purpose. So yeah, he was for Teal, but also to be Tiffany's horse. So we needed someone that was going to fit the bill on both sides. And when you're in the area, Anna, you have to come and meet him. You'll love him. Yeah. He's really, really lovely. He's very sweet. He's very kind. He's very social. He's extremely, extremely laid back. And and as Lisa said, everyone's helped to teach him how to tie up, to put rugs on, to pick out his feet, to do everything. So he's only 8 months old when he come. And so,
when we took him out as a yearling, I think people thought me and Lucy were crazy, because to get him back in the lorry, he's touch trained with a touch stick. So we went to load him, we got our touch string out, opened the ramp, and he followed the touch stick up, and everyone was looking at us like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, it's a big pool noodle. Yeah. Like, how are you loading your horse like that?
But it goes to show that the positive reinforcement stuff works amazingly, because you don't even have to walk them on, just follow a stick.
Magical members of the Teal Equine crew, and tell us they are changing the lives of tiny children, young people and adults, like you say, spanning right up to the age of 85 and beyond. How do they actually change people's lives, would you say?
We've got some massive success stories with the horses. We actually even employ one of our prior clients now as well. She's gone out freelancing, and we employ her. So we've had one young man, and he started from primary school with us, and he really struggled in primary school. and he went to start secondary, and he managed to do 6 months, and it just wasn't, he just couldn't cope, it wasn't the right environment for him. So he come to TEAL, and he was with us 3 days a week. This is when we started our educational work, which is all accredited with 4 equine courses, and then we now offer sort of maths, English, manufacturing, animal care. There's a whole list now. And so he'd done lots of accredited courses with us until the age of 16, and his dream was to be a farmer. And he's passed his tractor test today, actually, which we're really proud of him. And he's now heading a dairy herd of 150 cows at 16 and a half. He's living his dream. He still pops into us once a fortnight because he still just needs somewhere to come and help with his regulation.
And one of his days off, he comes in.
Yeah, so he's got like autism and ADHD, and can struggle sometimes with like social pressures and social communication. So he comes in sort of every 2 weeks, and that's his chance to, like we were saying, meet his wellbeing needs, have a chat with everyone, spend time with the horses, just to help regulate him. And then he's sort of ready for his next 2 weeks of work, and then pops back in. And honestly, that's thanks, well, me and Lisa are here. We're supporting it all, but really the horses have made a huge difference to his life, and we're very grateful for his mum. She does a lot of advocating for us as well, and sort of sings TEAL from all the banners, because if he hadn't have come here, I'm not sure where he would have just been at home for 5.5 years, sort of, and he may not have met his dreams. And his dream, he's
doing so well, and it's great because me and Lucy get to go and see baby calves.
We get to go to the dairy farm, and we
actually take our students there. They're doing the animal care courses, and we've been actually in the dairy to see how all the milking equipment works for our students, and that's something I would have never have done before or been able to do. So it's really great that like one of our students is now teaching our newer students like how all this stuff works, and what the cows are fed, and how the calves are looked after. And it's an amazing thing that we taught him for like 5 years, and now he's helping teaching our other students is brilliant. Yeah, so proud of him. Could have done better. We were so
expanding.
Yeah, and we've had students that we're still in contact with that have gone on, they're grown up now and they've got jobs and had children. They're still in contact with us.
They bring their children down to come and see us. Yeah.
We had a young gentleman start 2 years ago at 15 who had never written at any educational placement he'd been in, because he really struggled with that. And when I had his review earlier this year, the local London Borough Council that he's under actually asked to come down and visit us, because he is now writing his work in his book, like paragraphs of it. And they're like, how have you managed to do that when he's been through quite a lot of educational placements? No one else has managed to do it. And then during the summer, we got a really lovely email of his parents, and he'd written them a card for the first time in his life.
At 16.
16. So he'd never written anything on a birthday or Christmas card or anything, and he'd written them a card out, and they emailed us saying, oh my God, look what he's done. So
it's about building up that confidence and that self-esteem, and being in a nurturing environment without the pressures, and where you can just be you. And that's what we really hope for all of our clients that come in. We just want them to have a safe space where they can just be them, because that's what the horses are doing every single day. They're just being them. And us as humans need to learn to be happy within ourselves, don't we? And realise, how amazing we are. And sometimes it's easy to forget how amazing you are as an individual. And when we're learning things like we're leading the horses with no pressure, and we're right, that's Ben's 650 kilos, and you're leading him with no pressure at all, because you've built a bond, you've built a relationship, and you're working together. Like, that's a massive skill to learn that can take you through life. And a lot of our young people, as Lisa said, have come through the care system, or have had traumatic experiences at school, a lot of our young people now. So sometimes they get quite... what's the word I'm looking for? The pressures of having someone telling you what to do, or you're in trouble, or they come in, oh, I'm naughty, I can't do it, or I can't read or write, so I can't do this. And they have so many negative opinions about themselves, which unfortunately they've been told, and we have to undo that work and work on all the positives. No, look, you're amazing. You've shown up today. That's a really big thing for a lot of our young people. They're actually here. Oh, you want to engage. And then all of our young people, as Lisa said, then help the next young people that come in when we get new ones in. Like, they're always so excited when we have a new one. They're like, oh, can I show them around? Can I introduce them to the horses? Like, they're sharing their skills, they're sharing their knowledge. Again, that's building up that confidence, that self-esteem, their personal worth. It's
And
amazing.
I must just give a mention to our dogs as well, though, because you're lucky they're not in this interview, Anna, but put them away. But we have a deep pressure therapy Labrador and an educational support pug. So the pug will sit on people's laps in the classroom when they're feeling anxious and they need to stay calm. So he's like a weighted pug, and he is quite big. And then Ripple does deep pressure therapy. So he's like a real life weighted blanket, but will lean on people to help them stay calm. And some of the students will lay on the floor and get him to lay on him, but obviously he weighs quite a lot. So with some of the parents come and they're like, bring the dogs here when they need to calm down. So we must give credit to the
as well as the horses, the both of you.
Yes,
How
to train the
do you
dogs as
to
well.
lean on someone when they need it?
So originally it was Whisper's job, and unfortunately I lost Whisper last year. It was my chocolate lab, and he was just he was amazing. So we've got Ripple now. He's just turned 1. He's another chocolate lab. He's quite excitable. So again, we're shaping the behaviour with him. So as soon as, I don't know if everyone's got your dogs, your dog will lean against you sometimes or lay on your foot. So again, every time he's done that behaviour, we've reinforced it with the word lean, yes, and he gets a reward. So then you go to sit on the floor and we encourage him over and we use the word lean, and then you'll get a sit. And then when you lay down, then he will lay on top of you, and then we just bring in that duration. So Ripple's still training at the moment. We haven't got a full lay down lean with him yet without you getting licked continually. So, but he's a work in progress. But and it's just a way to help our young people ground. And it's up to our young people if they want the deep pressure therapy from the dogs, then that's their choice. They can engage in it. But as Lisa said, we quite often have our parents come in and can I have some time with the dog while the young people are here? So
I've had to send one of my students' parents this morning actually a picture of our pug because she's only in one day a week and she's missing him. So I got a text saying, "Can you send me a picture of him?"
And so I was like, inside the horses, because pugs are so small in comparison. Have you had to train the dogs to work alongside the horses and be cautious of them, or?
They've always
good.
They've always been with them, I think. So if I've had Frank since he was 10 weeks old, and he's just always, just think he sort of understands. I mean, when we had Breeze, he actually used to ride her, he used to sit on top of her.
I think, it's just making sure that the dogs have got a really good recall, so if they need to get out the way, they can. But generally, because the horses have always been with the dogs as well, I think there's a bit of a mutual understanding between the dogs and the horses. Although my dog Ripple, the young lab, is very much in love with Sam at the moment, and he keeps taking Sam toys in the loafing area. So I think he would really like to be friends with Sam the pony.
But that's such an asset.
Your clients, they get to do, as you mentioned, foraging and obstacle courses and work on the yard with the horses. But I know you mentioned earlier about one of the children writing on the horses' sides. And for those who don't know, you do painting horses as well, don't you, with horse-safe paint. Tell us why you incorporate paint and arts with horses and grooming.
So as I said earlier, people with Parkinson's, it actually helps stop the tremors. So it's quite a sensory thing. We never paint only on our horses' bodies. As I say, they're my Happy Equine paints, so just literally chalk and water. But so for sensory exploration, for lots of our people that have Huntington's and that as well, it gives them another feeling. And say for some of our non-verbal people, it gives them a way to communicate without having to verbally communicate. So we don't run pony parties or anything like that. It's all done as part of the therapeutic work with specific groups of people that we work with.
Lisa's adding that in because it can be quite a controversial topic, painting ponies. But as Lisa said, they're specifically horse paints and they're used for a purpose. We're not just painting the horse for the sake of painting the horses. But I worked with an adult lady with no diagnosis. She was just having, she needed somewhere. She needed a safe space to be, and she just needed some time. And we were doing some painting on the horses, and she painted like this big mountain, and then herself. And she's like, I've never been able to get this out of my mind, but this is a representation of like how I feel. And when you can physically see something, it helps us to process that information. And I'm sure we've all had times in our lives when we've had a problem, and it goes round and round and round in your head, and it's really hard to visualize that, to process it, to see what the next step can be. And when she done that, we were then talking about how did we get there, or what can we do next? And we often realise it's not one problem that we're facing. Often it's like 10 little problems that have then built up to this one big problem. And without that representation on pudding that day with those paints, she may not have been able to progress further on and think what the next steps are. So, yeah, I think the painting in the right settings is so beneficial, and especially for sensory exploration, for a lot of our sensory seekers as well, just that hands-on with the horses. So, yeah, we don't tend to use paint brushes or anything like that. We're going to finger paint because we want to be in touch with the horses. And again, the horses are loose for these sessions, so they don't have to be there. They can leave if they want to. They can stay if they want to.
And also, we had a young child a few years ago that had a real fear as part of her OCD about getting one bit of dirt on her. And then she would come in the week, wouldn't she? And she'd paint. And her mum was like, I have not got her washing her hands 100 times a day now, because she doesn't actually mind if she gets one thing on her. But she wouldn't have done that without the enjoyment she got and the sensory she got from painting the horses, that led on to her not then being really worried and anxious about every time, she got a bit of dirt or something spilt on her or whatever else. So it also, that had a massive impact on her life, that 20-minute session of being able to use paints on a horse once a week for a few weeks she was
positive impacts.
Such a massive positive impact for such a little.
And it must feel lovely
something massive.
Horses as well, a bit of a massage on their back when the paints are going on. And then for
definitely.
the child or the adult as well, they're getting that wonderful smell of horses, aren't they, on their hands? And it does make you feel closer to the horse, doesn't it, when you smell that, and then you have that wonderful memory and positive association.
Sure. And it's often a representation of like how you're feeling, how your client's feeling. So it might be how they're feeling or how they feel about the horse. So you often get like lovely pictures of like a child and a horse, or love hearts and sunshine and smiles. And that's an amazing communication skill for someone who may not be able to verbally communicate that for you. They can represent.
We also use it to help teach history, because obviously we've got war horses and stuff like that. So we've got lots of different signs and symbols, and that really fits in well with Sam, because if you look up the medicine cap in there at those times, Sam would have had his own guardians, because they were thought, if a horse had a medicine cap and two blue eyes like Sam has, that they were very, very lucky for the tribe. And we found a book, a picture online, and everyone thinks it's Sam, but it's obviously not. It was written in a book in like the 1960s, but it just exactly Sam. So it can also help with teaching, say, history in horses, because we do, we work with lots of school groups and primary groups, so we try and incorporate maths, English, history, and all of that into our sessions as well.
So talk me through this, because you began by just teaching animal care. Now you teach all these different subjects. How do you use the horses with those more, what we perceive as to be classroom-based subjects like maths and English?
Oh, you can sneak it in so easily. So with maths, we can use weight tapes to weigh the horses. We can measure the horses. We can then measure ourselves with a measuring stick. How many hands are we? So the student this week, actually, I'm 5'5". How many hands am I? So we were like, well, how many inches are in a hand? And then work that out into how many inches are in a foot. And then she estimated herself to be 16'1", and we measured her with the horse's measuring stick, and she was right. She would have been 16'1" hands.
In the feeds. So we had a group of boys, and they hate maths, but we got new feed in, and they was there working out how many grams, putting it in the cups, weighing it all.
To weigh the horses first, because it was 1 gram to 1 kilo of horse. So we had all the scales out. They wrote out the new feed board for us. So they spent a whole hour doing a maths lesson, and the teachers were here like, how are you doing that? But they wanted to do it because it was going to benefit the horses. It was a good thing to do for the horses, and that's where that empathy work comes into it as well. And we do lots of art with the horses, not just painting the horses, but we might go out and sit in the field with the horses and take some pens or some paper with us and like draw what's around us, like thinking about our senses. What can we see, touch, feel, taste and incorporate that as well. And yeah, you can.
So we've got there's so many horses in history, and especially like the different types of horses. Obviously, we've got 2 cobs here, and then you can talk about like heavy horses and the jobs they started to do, and then the breeding of Ben is like a warm blood cross
thoroughbreds who go to man-made breeds.
There we go. Yeah, back into history as well, because Hitler bred the warm blood, and Sam would have been a little pit pony, a little Welsh section A. There's so much like in depth you can go into with educational subjects.
We was on evolution yesterday, weren't we?
We was on evolution yesterday, yes. Yeah. And one of our students had written, I think, 2 pages
about how
evolution of horses,
how they used to have 5 toes, and then it went to 3 toes, and now they stand on 1 toe, and the chestnuts and the ergots, and so you can. There's masses into like maths, English, history, science that can come into the horses.
We got a refractor meet, very scientific. So there was refractor meeting, and
wow, this is seriously impressive and inspiring just listening. I'm thinking I'd love to sit in on some of these sessions to learn more about the history of the horse and the evolution of the horse. Do you think also the confidence building comes from the fact that we as humans are so sort of small and relatively frail in the way that we're made up, and working with these giant beasts, as you say, sort of 650 kilograms towards a ton beast? Do you think that's where sometimes the confidence comes from in these young people thinking, wow, I can work with such a large animal?
Definitely, 100%. And it's about working with such a large animal as a team, I think, as well. It's about that they are collaboration when they're working together, and that's where I think the confidence comes from as well. You haven't got to be big or bolshy, or you haven't got a friend push you around. You're working together to achieve the goals with such a large animal, and I think that's massively confidence building with the horses as well. And I think it's a transitional skill. If we can learn those like subtle communication skills and get the end goal that we're looking for, then we can transfer those skills in our lives. We can learn we don't have to shout at someone if we want something. We can ask in a different way, how our body language affects other people, because we know if we stomp up to the horses, the likelihood is they're going to walk away because they don't want to be with someone that's stomping up to them. So it gives you a chance to think about your body language. How do you approach people? How does that affect everyone else around you? So we're learning these like subtle skills, but that have such a big impact on our lives and our communication. Massively confidence building.
And I think that's why it does work so well with people on the spectrum, because there are things that they massively struggle with, and the horses can teach them how to communicate in a different way. So it's a really good, and horses remember your last facial expression. So if you leave the yard angry, they'll think you turn up angry, so they might not want to be with you. So so always leave your horse with a happy face, Anna. They will remember.
Try.
Oh gosh, I'll remember that one. And I've got to ask you, Lucy, because you started working in the world of racing yards, professional yards, dressage yards. What foundation did that give you, do you think? And also, how did it inspire this more gentle and more instinctive way with horses, do you think?
I think if I'm being honest, it broke my heart working on a racing yard when I was younger. I was very young at the time. I was only like 12 or 13 as a Saturday girl, but I tell my young people this. I distinctly remember the horses, and it was called the backyard, and they were the horses that didn't make the grade. And they'd have they wouldn't be mucked out properly. They'd be given leftover hay, because back then there wasn't all the ROR like there is now. There wasn't a massive scope for racing horses that hadn't met the grade. And they were all going to obviously a not nice place. I remember it breaking my heart even as a little girl. And as that transitioned, working on competition yards and dressage yards and eventing yards, the horses were... I always had a passion for horses, and I always just wanted to be with the horses and loved the horses as a little girl. I remember watching them out in the field. And I always just think we can always do more. We can always do better for our horses. All the competition horses, a lot of them were there to be, they weren't mistreated, but they were there for a job, and they had a purpose. And once they'd reached that purpose and the rider needed like the next size horse or a horse that could jump a bigger horse, of course, that horse was just moved on. And I could never be like that with my horses. All of my horses have sort of stayed with me until the day they're not here. And I've been very lucky that I could do that for them. And I know not everybody can. But I think it inspired me to want to work with horses in a different way and to listen to the horses, which is the most important thing. I always wanted to be a team with my horse. As a little girl in a riding school, I used to refuse to kick the horses when I was learning to ride, but it just meant that my riding instructor used to chase me around with a lunge whip instead, because I'd be like, I'm not kicking the pony.
For you.
And I used to fall off like every week, and my mum used to go, Lucy, are you sure this is what you want to do? But yeah, I think even from a young age, even from like 8 years old, I've always wanted to work in collaboration with the horses and not wanted to be like that forceful person with them, because they are very sensitive horses. They are sentient beings. They work off of our energies. And I still remember horses from a little girl and horses I work with, and wonder where they ended up, and I hope they all ended up in lovely homes. But I think the way we view horses can be quite disposable into how we view other animals. For example, our dogs. That we don't get a dog and the dog reaches 12 and we go, you're getting old now, we're going to get rid of you. And it happens quite a lot in the horse world, isn't it? Either they're older or they've taught all the children to ride, or they can't jump the courses anymore. And they're seen as a lot more disposable compared to our other pets. And it can be quite sad, especially for like ponies. They get moved on quite a lot, don't they, when they've taught young people. And I know it's not possible for everyone to keep their horses, and I totally understand that. But I think as horse owners, we've taken on a responsibility for our horses, and we need to do the best we possibly can as humans to keep them in the most natural environment that can meet all their 5 freedoms, all of their needs, because you will get a better horse at the end of it. If you've got a mentally and physically well horse, so where we're meeting all our needs, they're going to bring their best selves to you. And that's what we do at TEAL. We want our horses to be able to be their best selves when they're meeting our clients, because we can't expect our horses to pour from an empty cup, the same as us as humans cannot pour from an empty cup. So meeting our horses' needs here is like top priority.
In a really good relationship with them. Like, we took Smokey to toys when he was 2, and as we got him out of the lorry, a 4-person tent flew straight into his face. Obviously spooked and run off, but as soon as Tiffany called Smokey, he stopped still and was like, oh, my mum's calling me, I'll come back. I mean, to have that kind of relationship with your horse, like, we could turn our horses out and 5 minutes later call them and they'll all come back in. We don't even have to go and get them, because that, we have such a close relationship with them. And, obviously as well, like, a lot of people don't have the opportunity, but we're with them all day, every day. So we're really, really lucky to have that opportunity to be with our horses like we are. But
I do think the equine world is changing. I think it's quite far behind the dog world, but I do think it's training. There's a lot more people doing like more positive reinforcement work with their horses. There's a lot more people coming up with sort of like track systems, or the horses living out, or horses having turnout, and which is so important for our horses having friends. I think there's a little bit less of that individual turnout going on, or horses kept in all winter. And as part of our accredited courses, we've developed a positive relationship and training course with horses. So we're teaching our young people and our young adults a different way to work with our horses, and hopefully that will create a ripple effect, because a lot of our young people are going into work in the equine industry, and if they can share the knowledge that they've learned about how to work with horses in a different way, then that will be amazing. So yeah, everyone just keep going with everything you're doing with working together with your horses and working in a more natural way. Let's listen to them.
And what is next for the future of TEAL? You're now a charity, you're expanding the courses that you give. What's on the horizon for you guys?
Well, what we found we needed to do next is we're currently oversubscribed, and we had a lot of people on waiting lists.
We had to actually close our waiting list, which was quite sad for us, because we want to help as many people as possible. So 2 years ago, we started running professionals courses. So we train other professionals to work in this industry, which is really great. So some of the people we've trained have gone on to open up their own therapeutic centres working with horses, and two of them are actually going to run our TEAL courses as well. So yeah, more scope to reach more people.
We can refer on to the people that have trained with us, and then we know that like the structure and how the sessions are run and how the horse welfare, which is the base of everything, that everyone's meeting those standards as well. So we feel comfortable then to refer our clients onto them that we can't meet on our waiting list. So yeah, and that's the next step. And then we're going to get a bigger classroom that's coming next month as well, because we're currently working out of a converted shed for our classroom. And yeah, more scope. Maybe another horse in the future. Maybe.
Lots of award ceremonies coming up, so that has also been very exciting.
Yeah, we've got 2 award ceremonies in October, which is very exciting. So yeah, lots of exciting things are coming forwards, and just to keep developing and to be meeting our clients' needs and to be meeting our horses' needs. Anyone that's got horses will know that you're continually learning, and you need to be open to continually learning. So to always do the best we can possibly do
for our clients and our horses,
and
our dogs and our chickens.
They're part of the team as well.
They are.
What are your fundamentals? And I'm sure you could give a great long speech about what you have to pass on to those that you're training to do the TEAL work. But what are your fundamentals, would you say, that you teach so that when people adopt the TEAL method, that they are replicating?
I think you've got to be genuine, honest, and totally authentic, because you can't ask your clients that are coming to you to be open, honest, genuine, and authentic if you can't be yourself. And that's, again, something we're learning from our horses. Obviously, horse welfare at the base model of everything that's happening, and about having the right skills. And you have to be genuine in what you're doing. You have to genuinely want to help people, want to see people succeed, celebrate every victory, and do the best you can possibly do in this industry.
So for those listening who want a bit of the TEAL magic and they'd love to be a part of what you do, or those that you train to carry out your work, how do they get in touch?
The best place to go is on our website, which is www.tealcic.co.uk, and you can find out about our one-to-one sessions, our group sessions, our educational courses, and also our EAL professionals course if you'd like to come and do some training with us as well. And we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and it's TEAL or TEAL CIC.
Thank you so much for coming on Curious Equestrian. It's been so inspiring. And we're going to go behind the scenes in a minute to our members zone to give you a few listener questions. But for now, girls, thank you so much for coming on Curious Equestrian and letting me into your world and your life. It's been amazing.